Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. And let's continue with our chat app. So in the last episode, we actually were able to integrate our login and register. However, there is a modification we need to make. So back on our sign-in page, so we still have the forgot passwords to implement. And based on that, we need to have an email. So for instance, if we need to send in a forget link, then we can send it to your register email. And also, when you use either Twitter or Google to register, you need to kind of match it with an email so that you have something unique to actually access the user from. So I think that was a mistake we made while starting up this project. And I think before we proceed further, we need to actually fix that. So back on the backend side, so this is what we currently have on the backend. Here is the user model. So here is the custom user, if you could remember, and we have the username here. So all we can do here is to define the email is equals to models.email field. So it's also going to be unique, and that's all we need to have here. So based on what we've done here, we've kind of invalidated most of the things we've set up. So if we try to migrate this model now, we probably would have an issue. So let's try that. So we have Python manage.py make migrations. Alright, so as we can see, it's asking that the content here already exists, that we should provide a default. However, this email should not have a default value, neither should it be null. So, well, in cases where we are already operating with real data and stuff, I won't recommend this flow. However, based on what we have so far, this is what we can do. We can literally come to the DBSQL library to remove it. Then go back to our migrations. We can always remove all our migrations so far. So in doing this, we also have to remove it for relationships. So message control probably has a migration that relates to the user control as well. So we also remove migrations for the message control so that we don't have any conflicts. So bear in mind, you can't do this when you have everything running, when you have real data and other things like that. You tend to just have things messed up. So you only want to do this in this situation. So in such case, you probably want to maybe define a default value for the email such that it takes that value for situations where email is not provided, and it's going to set the value for the existing data. So with what we've done now, we can make another migration, and it's literally going to try to create everything from afresh. So now we can migrate. Alright, so everything seems done from there. So next up, let's trace out where we have our register and kind of update the flow. So for the serializer, we need to update that. So we need taking email now. Serializers.email field. Okay, so that's going to be part of the fields required for you to register. Then the views, let's see if there's anything we need to fix here. So we have the register view here. And I think we really don't need to do anything else actually. So the email is not really any major deal. It's not really very useful for anything. What we are majorly using it for is to allow us identify the user so that whenever the user needs to retrieve his password, we have something to attach it with. And also for the social login, we have something to match it with. So the idea is when you log in with either Twitter or Google and you already have the email used, then it just picks the account and render it out rather than creating a different account. Okay, so let's also include the email here since it's not here already. So user dash dash email. So those are the things you can actually search with for your profile. All right, so that's all we need to do here. And yeah, let's push and update our deployments. Okay. Before we forget, let's have our test, because if we run our test now, I'm certain it's going to be faulty. So let's do Python manage.py tests. Alright, so the test register actually had an issue which I had anticipated. So let's go to the test and actually fix test register, and I think that should only be the issue. So test auth, then test register. So we need to also add an email here, and since we made it an email field, it has to match a valid email contents. So we can have this as adefemigreat@yahoo.com. Alright, so let's run the test again and be sure that we are okay this time. Alright, so we still got an error. Okay, that's weird. Alright, this time around it's test login. Alright, so the reason is because we still actually registered before we log in. Right, so let's also duplicate the email here, even though it won't be required when logging in, but it's going to be useful when registering. Okay, the same thing for the refresh, so let's have it duplicated here as well. Yeah, I think that's all. Let's run our test once more. Oh, okay, so integrity. Alright, welcome back. So I took a time fixing the errors generated from the test, and yeah, most of it were associated with not including email address every point where we created user accounts or we are trying to check user accounts. So I've been able to resolve those now, and yeah, I'm pushing to deployment now. So let's do that. And since we are really not adding any new packages of sorts, we can just go ahead with pushing whatever content we have currently to Git, and yeah, we push to the repo. Alright, so it seems we are done here, so we can close the backend, except that we still just want to check the URLs exposed from our user app. So we are going to need the profile part later on while implementing our authentication. So with that said, let's close the backend and let's go deploy what we have so far. So we log into DigitalOcean. That's what I'm using to deploy my service. So just log into it. Alright, so since we are not maintaining the same DB with our local server, with our local contents, we might as well just want to make migrations here as well. So we've already made the migrations on the local, so we just need to migrate from here. So to do this, I think then I mentioned that we have docker-compose run. So depending on the name you've given to your Docker compose, let's quickly check that to be sure of the service we want to run. So nano docker compose.yaml. Yeah, so the service we are running is the API service. So as soon as we are sure of that, we can have docker-compose run, then API, then we can now have python manage.py, then migrate. So the migrations already exists. Alright, so one more thing is to just create the super user once. So let's do that. So manage.py create dash super. I think just super user, everything goes together. Alright, so once we are done creating the super user, we can stop the current service. So Docker compose down. Then we can build the new one. So Docker dash compose build. Alright, so the build is done and we can just start the server. So Docker compose, then up in detach mode. Then we can remove the ones we are no longer using. And to do this, we just have Docker, then image, then prune. So it's going to allow us to remove the images, containers we are no longer using. Alright, so that's done, and we are literally done with the deployments. I actually think I'm going to stop here. So we will continue with the implementation in the next episode. So we can decide to skip this particular episode if we are okay with it and just want to just stick to the implementation. So guys, see you in the next one. Bye.